Hi, and thank you for tuning in to the Daily Dose for Spiritual Growth. It is Christmas week, and so we are continuing on with the Christmas story. We're going to be really sitting with the shepherds for the next few days. Think about these shepherds, these groups of travelers who were watching sheep, really in the dirt and the fields. And one night, something miraculous happened out of the ordinary and very unexpected. We're going to pick up their story beginning in Luke chapter 2, verse 8. It says, that night there were shepherds staying in the fields nearby, guarding their flocks of sheep. Suddenly, an angel of the Lord appeared among them, and the radiance of the Lord's glory surrounded them. I found myself just last week in a conversation with some people about angels. And they were saying, Pastor Sarah, it's so interesting, specifically in the nativity story with the encounter with Mary that we read about last week, the encounter with Joseph we read about last week, and here now with the shepherds, it always says that the people were terrified when they came across an angel. And they were like, why is that? What do angels look like? Well, isn't that interesting? Have you ever considered that? What do you think caused the people to be so terrified and shocked? Was it the sheer size of the angels? Was it the appearance of them, what they looked like? Were they in human form? Were they in a different form? I think we all probably picture something when we think of angels. And I don't know where that began. It might be from different images that you've seen. It might be from different multimedia that you've seen. But where did that image first come from? I don't know. But one thing that I always think is that I think angels just exude light. And that would sheer shock them when this light lit being was coming towards them or speaking to them. But one day, those of us that have a personal relationship with Jesus Christ, we will know very well what angels look like because we'll encounter them ourselves. But anyway, let's read on. It says they were terrified, but the angel reassured them. He's like, calm down. He says, don't be afraid, he said. I bring you good news that will bring great joy to all people. The Savior, imagine this, the Savior, yes, the Messiah, the Lord, has been born today in Bethlehem, the city of David. This was a Savior that had been prophesied about for generation upon generation before. Very likely these shepherds had heard the stories. We don't know what their own belief was. We don't know if they were seekers. We don't know what they were thinking in that moment. But they more than likely had heard of this Savior, and now they were being told firsthand that the Savior of the world had been born. What a remarkable announcement. I wonder, did they right away think, how could this be? What's going to happen? Why are we being told? We can't imagine all the thoughts going through their heads. But right there in front of them, an angel of the Lord was telling them this incredible news. He goes on to say, and you will recognize him by this sign. You will find a baby wrapped snugly in strips of cloth, lying in a manger. We're going to find out tomorrow how they respond and what happens next, but it's interesting to consider the announcements in our world. We have a lot of announcements, don't we? Back in the day, I remember public service announcements. You'd be watching television and you'd hear the beep, 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 and the screen would go fuzzy. And then suddenly you'd have to pause. And in the middle of cartoons, I was never happy about this. And the news that they were sharing never seemed that exciting. As a child, I didn't understand the news that was being shared. And yet my parents sometimes would stop what they were doing to listen. And then sometimes as the announcement proceeded and they realized I also don't care, they'd go back to what they were doing. And it kind of became something that I would ignore. But in our world, there are so many announcements about Jesus as well, isn't it? There's a lot of people talking about Jesus in all sorts of ways, from all sorts of perspectives. And I wonder what people think when they hear them. Have the people in your life started to tune it out and ignore it? Have the people in your life started to disregard, okay, I've heard that before, or this doesn't apply to me? It's so sad, isn't it? And so during this season, as Jesus is being talked about, it's Christmas season, let's be praying for God to reveal himself to people, to reveal who he truly is to people in a way that they can accept, acknowledge, and reverence who the living God is. Let's also look for opportunities to share our faith with others. Hey, I want to thank you so much for tuning in today. And as we continue the story, I'll see you again tomorrow for another daily dose for spiritual growth.